Hello, welcome. Today we're talking about feedback and assessment using Office 365 tools. My name is Nathan Wells. I'm the Senior Manager of Customer Engagement with i2e. i2e is an education consultancy company. We focus on the successful use of technology in our education system. Focus on K-12 and higher ed, providing training, providing resources, working with ed tech companies large and small to make sure that what they're doing is supportive of the goals in education. You can follow me at edtechwells on Twitter and Facebook, i2eedu.com or at i2eedu for both Twitter, Facebook, Microsoft EDU in the same place. You can find out more and we'll talk about where some other resources are as well as we get going today. So today's focus is on assessment and working together and finding that data. So how do we get students working together in collaborative assignments, whether it's remote, hybrid, students aren't in the same place together, or if they are at school together in a classroom? What are some great collaborative work that students can do, and how are you going to assess that? Look at some tools that provide you quick and easy feedback as an educator. How can we quickly find out what students are doing, how they're progressing, where are some checkpoints, what are some ways that we can dig a little bit deeper in what they're doing and find out about that data. So we're going to break it down today into a few tools and look specifically at those tools as kind of our themes for the day. And then we'll kind of give some overarching ideas and strategies around using those tools. So that's kind of where we're going. So the first tool we're going to focus on is Microsoft Forms. This is probably the default or the easiest for getting some quick feedback and getting some quick, giving some quick assessments to students. So Microsoft Forms has two default modes, kind of your basic survey tool. How are you feeling today? What was your favorite? Those type of no correct answer questions. And it has a quiz like the picture shown here. Select the best choice. Which biome do you see in the picture? And students can have a correct answer. And so it's self-graded. You as the teacher get a nice report. You can see exactly who got stuff right, who got wrong, who needs some more support, maybe what questions need some more support. And so you can get some quick insights into that. So we're going to look at forms. So you can get to forms a couple of ways. You can go to office.com and click on the apps. And you can go to all apps and then you can find that, or you can go to forms. I actually typed forms.office.com. There's a couple ways you can get here quickly. Just sign in with your Office 365 account. Now I have some forms already created. If I wanted to start from new, I could choose, is it a form, which is more that basic survey, no correct answer, or am I going to do a quiz? Do I want to get that graded and get that back? The form is perfect if we're wanting to do some check-ins with our students. How did you feel about that? How are you doing this week? What is something you need help with, right? So we're getting something from students that's not a correct answer. These are fantastic for building and dropping in the channels and teams, or having students do a quick survey during a live synchronous Teams call. You can drop in a form into the chat and students can answer it, and everybody can see a generic graph, meaning they don't see who said what, but they kind of see like the overall class graph. Those can be really fun and super engaging during a Teams call or just even in the Teams channels. But let's say I'm wanting to build a quiz. So we're going to look at some quick examples, give you an idea of what these could look like. So here is one. It's kind of a standard multiple choice quiz, focus more on science. And you can see as the teacher, my view, I put in the title and then I went through and I typed in the questions and choices. I marked what was correct. And I told it how many points it's worth. Now that's key. If I click on this, you can see the kind of the behind the scenes. I have to tell it which one is correct, so I can change that, but I have to tell it which one's correct, and I have to tell it how many points it's worth. Now another recommendation is you notice this little red asterisk. That means these are required. So I've checked off this little dial here that these are required questions, meaning a student can't submit it until they answer that question. If you don't do that, you'll receive some that don't have them fully filled out. If I click on preview, this is what it actually looks like as for a student. So I can actually go ahead and take it as a student and kind of see that it's coming through correctly. It's a great way for me as the teacher to check that I didn't miss anything, that I marked all the correct ones correct. Now I also want to point out that every time I hover over a question, something is popping up next to the question. This is a little book and speaker, which is kind of the symbol that you'll see in all Microsoft tools and many other EdTech companies for an immersive reader. So I can actually have the system help me by reading this question to me and the choices, right? So it reads the question and choices. I can click the play and it'll read it to me. I can change the background, make it easier for my eyes. I can change the way the text looks. I can pull out parts of speech. And more importantly, probably for this, is if we have students that are struggling and aren't sure what some of these words are, I can use Picture Dictionary. I can even have it translated if that's helpful for my situation. I need to have it translated so it's easier for a student that's just coming into the class and maybe it hasn't learned English as well, or they're younger. So I can have it in both languages, and I can have that picture dictionary to help me see what it is we may be doing. So that's really helpful. So we have immersive reader built in. And it's a great thing to point out to students so that they know that they have that assistance when they need it. They can be sure that they're answering the questions in the correct way. So that's built in. So we can see, so this is a 10-question quiz. Each one is worth 10 points. And I have, as the teacher, I have this option up here called responses. So I can quickly go through and see a quick graph of what all of the students said. So this one, the correct answer was C. Only one student said that. And I have this quick graph to see which ones got it correct, what was the difference, and who said what. And here, though, I just said who said what. I don't see that by default. Right now, this is just an overview. So I need to go in, I can actually click Review Answers, and then I can go through and see. And if my students are signing with their Microsoft accounts, it will actually pull in their name. This one I just did as random anonymized questions, so I don't have that listed here. But I can go through and look at that student by student. So not only am I able to quickly put out an assessment for my students, but I can also quickly look at the data. And I can pull that really fast, and I can pull out that, I can pull it into Excel if I need to drill in deeper, especially for a longer quiz. Let's look at a different type. So now let's say I wanted to do a math. One of the other things that's built into Microsoft Forms is I can click in here and I can use these math tools. And the way I did that is I first went to the 3 dots at the bottom of a question, can click on the ellipse, and I turned on math. You have to turn on math to get that option. So now I can put these in as expressions. I can use the different math symbols that are unique and aren't maybe built into our keyboard that we normally use. So that's a quick way to do that. You notice it also gives me suggestions based on the evaluation of that, what I put in there. And it adds in some things that could be similar, right? So it has those added in. So same idea, I still have to mark the correct answer. I do have to tell it how many points it's worth. So I would have to go through and make sure that I did that for this one, right? And now at the top, it'll tell me it's worth 3 points. Another one, probably one of my favorite ways to use forms, is adding in a video. So you can add in an image or a video right in the clip. So if you're thinking about what are in those standards that you need to assess students, those graduation requirements that you're wanting to assess students on and make sure that they understand, and you're planning their pathways to graduation, pathways to higher ed, they need to have certain things mastered. Well, this is a good example of one where we're giving them the question, but if they get it wrong, it's actually going to push them to a video for them to review the content, and then they get the exact same question again. So this is called doing branching in a question. So when I click on this question, again, it's required, correct answers marked, but when I click the 3 dots this time, I clicked Add Branching. And what that did, you notice, if they clicked on one of the wrong answers, it pushes them to number 2, where it's the same question, but it has the video. But if they get it right, it skips that and goes to the last question. So that's called branching, and you can find out more about that in some of our other videos on education.microsoft.com. I'll point you to in a little bit. And again, we can preview that and look through that. The videos, I think, are a great way. You could even do the videos a little bit different than what I did there. You could put a video as like the first question and then have 3-5 questions that are all based on that video. So it gives students some accountability. So they're watching the video and responding. You can put in images in each one. So think about your state assessment. You know, what are those Common Core standards that depend on students being able to read a graph, to identify something on a map, and put those in here. and be able to have students respond to those, and you can see how they're doing. So that's a quick kind of how can we use forms for assessments, both in Microsoft Teams as standalone. You can also embed them in OneNote. You can use them within your OneNote class notebook as well. So another way that we could use Office 365 is for collaboration. So maybe we want to assess students, but we want them to work together. So this is the idea. I took this from somebody that shared this great template online, and I just opened it up in PowerPoint. And this one has collaborative slides built in, and student groups work together. So you could have students doing that. Some other things you could do with 365 Online is you could have students coming in and filling in a Word document together. Now, one of the things, and you could do this right inside of Teams, right? You could assign it as a Teams assignment, and that adds a little bit of functionality I'll talk about in a moment. Or you could just ask them to create a Word document and share it amongst themselves, depending on the age group. So they just click share, and they type in who they're going to share it with, right? Or they share that link. And when they're in a shared document, they could be filling this out together, and they can click comment. And so I could be typing, and maybe up here about summary, I'm going to click new comment, and you see it has my name, and it's going to highlight the word of where my cursor was. And I can leave a comment. Now, the other nice thing about comments is if we're working together asynchronously, so we're not on a call together, students are working on it at different times, I can do a call out, and I can ask Susanna to help me with that, and I can ask her to, hey, here's what I put in for the summary, what else would you do? So I can assign that to her, and I can click send, and she'll actually get an email notification. So it's a great way to be working asynchronously and be working together on a document, on a presentation, and have that back and forth even when we're not together. But even when we are together, the comments can be really useful to kind of keep track of who's working on what or what different things we have. Now, the other piece of that is if I was working in Microsoft Teams, so I just clicked over to Microsoft Teams. In here, in assignments, I can assign to students these projects, and I can send them to small groups of students. So they're all working on different things. And then I could have students working in those documents collaboratively. The advantage of doing it in Microsoft Teams is that actually adds an element to that where they now have an ongoing chat option. So they're working on this together, and there is over here at the top right, it says conversation. So now there's a conversation that students can be having, and everybody that's invited to this document could be in this conversation, and they could see this also through the chat up at the top left in the me space of Microsoft Teams, and they could be a part of that conversation and just be talking about what they're going to put in the poem or what they learned or what ideas they have for writing their own fun poem together. So maybe this is just the pre-assignment where they're just working together to talk about what they want to write in their own poem, and then they're going to go on and read more about it. So great way to keep conversations going, whether students are in class together or they're in remote situations or hybrid situations. They have those functions built in. So that's specific to working on a document in Microsoft Teams, is this conversation function. But I also still have the comment feature. That's whether I'm in just desktop, online version of Word, PowerPoint, or I'm in Microsoft Teams. So I have both of those options. So I can do that. Again, in the PowerPoint, I could have students going in and clicking into a slide, and groups maybe are going to work together. And you could write the group members' names, or maybe you let them do like a team name, and they can title the slide that team name, and then they could be working on their different parts of it together and working on that. And again, using that comment feature, if I was inside Teams, I would have the conversation pane, and I could be doing that on the side as well. So you can have students working together in the PowerPoint together. You can give students choice boards. This is a choice board template where students are filling out things they want colleagues to do. So a choice board doesn't have to be only created by the teacher. Maybe you give this template to students and ask them to create a choice board to teach others about what they've learned. So you can mix it up a little bit. But also you could, as a teacher, create a choice board, give students some options. They just need to complete 3 of the 9, 3 of the 8 in this case, and they have some choice of how they're going to do that. So you could have them work through that. So you could do a choice board. We have the turkey, you have the resume. So these are all great ways you could work with students and have them work together. And in OneDrive, we know we can find the shared with me, but I would recommend that when you're working with students in these forms and having them work in Word and PowerPoint, I would use the Microsoft Teams, and it keeps it all in one place. And I would even add in Class Notebook to that, where you can put the documents and organize them and give students a checklist of here's the things you need to keep track of, here's what you need to be working on, and how they can keep track of that. So let's jump to the next idea, and that's using Sway. If you're not familiar with Sway, my best description of it is it creates for you, it helps design for you a one-page web page. That's the best way I can describe it. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's a really simple explanation. So when I open up Sway, here's an example of a Sway that was created and shared at sway.com, sway.office.com, and I'll show you that in a second. But here it's a solutions to the world's biggest problems, and you notice I can just scroll. Here I've got the objectives, I've got some nice formatting with the headers, some pictures are stacked together. There's some great little videos in here, all designed by the Sway backend artificial intelligence, right? Whoever created this, they dropped in the content, they put what order they wanted it to be in, and the system designs it for you. And I'll show you, you can quickly change the design, but the overall design is done for you, which is great for having students put together a portfolio, or again, those graduation requirements, those paths to success. They could drop in everything they've learned around different standards or different things that they need to complete, and you can put it in this nice format. You can quickly go through them and see it. It's easy to read. It's easy to come back through and find those ideas. So let's back up and just go to sway.com. You can also go to sway.office.com. And here is my Sway. I can create a brand new one. I can start from a topic or a document. Great thing about starting from a document is, like, let's say you have a PowerPoint already started, it will pull in all the images and text, and then you can just move them around, format them. There's some great examples you can view on here, get inspired, so you can go through and see what other people have done. That's where I found the solutions to the world's biggest problems. You can just start one and you can get started. So some of these that are really helpful is you can create a portfolio. There's some great templates that are already started. So if I start from a topic, you can see some ideas here. So if I wanted to find out more about climate change, I could see if they had some templates already ready to go. And so they change it just a little bit. So let's say climate change specifically to the Arctic. And I can say create outline. And it'll allow me to get some of these started. It wanted me to dig deeper. And so I can go a little bit further with this. Arctic Ocean. And it'll create the outline. So what's nice about this is it automatically grabs some images, some basic text, some headings to help you get started. Now I can change any of this, delete any of this that I want to, but it helps me get started with it. So to see it, it gives me a section for geography, and it gives me the space to put in a background, space to put in the text. And it does that for all the subsequent categories. It gives us a few suggestions, but overall it just kind of gives you the outline and where you can get started. Now at any point I can click play and kind of see how it's going to look. This one's designed from a left to right field, so I can use arrows at the bottom. You can see there's each of the big headings. You can see those listed. So those are fantastic, and I can always go back and click edit. Now, let's say I've added in my text, and I need to let's just grab an image. So I'm going to click drag image here. I can search specifically for geography, since that's the title card. And let's see, do we have any good Arctic images quickly? So we'll just grab a nice cool mountain. We'll drop that in. It's that simple to find images, and you can do the same thing with videos. And then let's say I want to look at the design. So right now, the design is from left to right. Images are real big. If I click styles, I can change that from horizontal to vertical, and it'll immediately change it, and I can view those changes. I can switch up the style. So I want to change how everything is laid out. As you notice, the text is changed. The image of the layout of the images is quickly changed. Maybe I want to do it on background. So you see there again, the quick change. So the AI behind Sway is quickly taking all of my content and just making it really quick and easy to use. So Great way for students to not necessarily worry about the layout as much, not get stuck in the fonts and the wild colors that sometimes they'll do in a presentation, but instead they're focused on the content, being able to pull in what they know and help you be able to see what they know quickly and easily. And when they're ready to share this, the other nice thing about Sway is it's really easy to share. So they can share with specific people or those in their organization's kind of the default. It's a view-only link, so I can just click copy, and they can send that to you in their Teams assignment, and they can drop that link in their OneNote class notebook, wherever you want them to turn things in. Maybe you want them to share with the whole class. So in their team, they're going to go, we're focusing on Unit 2, so they're going to start a new conversation about here is my project. And they can paste in that link and post that. So now it's ready for the whole class to view, and they're sharing together what they did. So great feedback opportunity. Now you can give students, maybe you give them a rubric, and they can go through and peer evaluate first. And it gives students a chance to go back and they can iterate and look at what their peers said and things that they can add, change, put more information in. Then you have them turn it in through a Teams assignment and give them a final grade. And you can quickly click on the view links and you can quickly view everybody's projects and go through those. So it's a great opportunity to have students post something in a Teams channel and be able to have students see each other's, give feedback, right? All they have to do is click reply and they can give some feedback specific to that student. And you have that constructive criticism, that chance for students to learn about that, a chance for students too, if they're able to critique somebody else's correctly, that means they probably have a better understanding of the content, the structure, your expectations, and then they can go and do even better work on their own. So some quick overviews of Sway. And again, you can just go to sway.com or sway.office.com. It's also in the Office 365. It's either going to be on the left or I can click on all apps and I can find those listed here. So I've mentioned Teams assignments a couple times. So let's think about, Teams assignments are a fantastic way that you can pull in all the tools we've talked about so far, plus OneNote, which we haven't looked at in detail yet. And you can give students a chance to have the directions all in one place. They always know to go to the Teams assignment to see the things that they're going to be working on. You can send them directly to small groups. You can send them to everybody. You can differentiate. So I'm just going to click on assignments in Microsoft Teams. And here I've got some already created. So this one right here, go 3 dots, edit. And in here, I created a project. Here's the text of what they're going to do. Here's the title of what they're going to do, points. I can be a group presentation, right? I can change up all this. But one of the other things I did here is that I added in a rubric. That's why it says group presentation. So that's what the rubric is called. So when I click on that, here's what the title of it is. Here's the rubric. So they know exactly what to expect. And they have that listed there. Also, when I go back to give them feedback to grade it, I just click on the rubric and I can go click, click, click. And it's really simple for me to grade and have that all turned into students and get that quick, timely feedback for our students. It does tie into other things like turnitin.com. So that's a great way to work with students to give them the quick feedback they need. So these students haven't turned it in yet, but let's say I had one turned in. I could click on the group presentation. Was the introduction good? It was good, but it wasn't excellent. Then I go to the next point in the rubric. This one was excellent. Next point in the rubric, man, you were missing some. Go to the next point. It was pretty neat, right? They did a good job, and I can keep going. And you see it's tallying up the overall score as I go. And so now they got an 80 out of 100. I can leave specific feedback, and I'm done, ready to go to the next student. Really quick and easy to give feedback to students, for them to have feedback in a timely way. It's not over-consuming for me as the teacher to grade things. Fantastic way to give us feedback to students. So you can see that one's graded. That's not turned in. So those are a great way to work with students. All right, so let's also talk about, while I'm here, OneNote class notebook. So OneNote class notebook was originally a standalone thing, so you can still open up the Windows 10 app and go to and open up your OneNote class notebook from there. But built into Teams, it has even more functionality. So in the assignments, I could have assigned a class notebook page, and it would distribute to students automatically. Or I can work with students. I'm going to expand this. I can work with students in here. So in our OneNote class notebook, I can go in, I can create things as the teacher. I can send them, push them out to students. I can put things in the content library. These are things that students can see, but they can't make changes to. I can have students work together in a collaboration space. So this is a spot where students can come in and they can work collaboratively as groups and be able to work on something and they all see each other's, right? But it's in this one space where it's easy for me to come in and check. And then I can distribute material. So that's what I started to say. Let's say from the content library, I want them to view this lab. I embedded a web page here from FET, and I can have them give reflections. I can have them listen to it and get them to work on it. But this is in the content library, so students can only see it. If I want them to write on this, I'm actually going to go to class notebook and distribute the page. And so I can distribute this page to everybody at once just by clicking distribute page again. I can send it to individual students, small groups, across multiple classes, which is what cross notebook distribution is. So it's really simple for me to send things out to students. Same thing, if I want to review, I can click review student work. It's going to say, well, what do you want to review? And I can quickly go through and see everything that students have done, give quick feedback, and be able to quickly have that wrapped up and get students that timely feedback that is really important for them to get. If you want to know more about that, we have a video specifically on using and organizing OneNote class notebook. But the other thing I want to mention while I'm here is when we're having students working in OneNote class notebook, it's important to point out that they have multiple ways that they can use this notebook and they can be responding to what you're asking them to do. So the default, I put in a text box and they can just start typing, right? That's kind of the default. Usually when we're on a computer, we have something that looks a little bit like a word processor at first. But they also have that insert audio. So if I go to insert, I can click on audio and I can have students speak the feedback, and I can speak the feedback to them, or I can click draw. And I can have students immediately start drawing their representation of what happened here and what each of these means and what the mass is of this. So I can have them draw it out. Let's say they're on a tablet or they're on, they have a Surface device and they grab their Surface pen, they can just write right on it. So it's really quick and easy, and that multimodal is huge in allowing students to be able to give their ideas and their representation of what's going on. They can mark up the page, they can drop in images really quickly and easily to be able to explain their learning, and for me as the teacher to be able to give quick and easy feedback to my students. So what is your next step? We went through some fun ideas around using forms, Office Online, Teams assignments, Sway, OneNote class notebook. So I would encourage you to provide an opportunity for students to work collaboratively online. Make sure to show them how to use the chat if they're in Teams, the commenting if they're just using Office 365. Build those collaboration opportunities in, allow students to be able to connect with each other and have those communication lines. Provide students with choice. One of the things we could do in Teams is we could send it to individual students or to groups, but we could also send multiple versions to everybody and allow them a choice of how they want to complete it. Maybe they want to create a PowerPoint presentation. Maybe they want to create a Sway. Maybe they want to just record their presentation and just have their audio. They don't want their voice to be seen. So giving them all these different means to complete their assignment helps them have ownership, helps them to be more engaged in the assignment, and make sure you show students the different modes that they have in OneNote to be able to show their work. If you'd like to learn more about any of these products and any of the ideas and strategies around remote and hybrid learning, I encourage you to go to education.microsoft.com. There's fantastic resources in the Educator Center and quick videos and how-tos and PDFs, different things for you to find out more. Stay connected with us. We have a newsletter called Insights, and you can go to register.i2eedu.com/news and stay connected with us. We send out regular updates about highlighting educators from around the world, the amazing things they're doing, most up-to-date ed tech tools and suggestions, ways that you can use these tools and others, and finding ways to connect and being social. We try to encourage that as well. Thanks for watching today. To find out more about using OneNote class notebook specifically, check out the next video, Organizing Teaching and Learning Content in OneNote class notebook. Thanks for your time. Have a